Hi, I'm Jim Gordon with another edition of SmallCap Interviews. Joining us today is Jeff Clark. He is a mining analyst, he is a public speaker, and he is the author of PAYDIRT, Mining for Profits with Gold and Silver Stocks. You can also find out more information at thegoldadvisor.com. Jeff Clark is in the spotlight next. Jeff, thank you for joining us.
Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
You're quite welcome, sir. Lots to talk about. I want to start first with a little background. I mentioned it off the top, but a little background on everything you do, because you do have your hand in a lot of things and all that you do.
I do. We started thegoldadvisor.com, a free publication, and we analyze, mostly look at mining stocks there, most of which are juniors. It's free to the public, and I vowed when I started that I would not do another paid newsletter. I'd done that for many years, and it's a lot of work. 12 months later, what did I do? I started a paid newsletter. 6 months after that, what did I do? I acquired another newsletter from Gwen Preston. So then we built a new website, we published a book, we have a premium service now. So yeah, we're keeping ourselves busy, but my goal is to provide to the public that wants to investors who are interested in mining stocks, the opportunity to learn about how to evaluate them and invest in them, and that's what I hope we can do.
What do you? I mean, you educate people. What can you talk about taking people through steps? Because one of the things that I hear from people like yourself is that there's people out there maybe watching this video that are new to the arena and need people like you to kind of say, okay, where can I start?
Yes.
Talk a bit about that if you could.
Well, it's different analyzing a mining stock than it is analyzing, say, Apple Computer or Amazon or something like that.
Right.
There are very different things you need to look at. Frankly, and that's why I wrote the book. Not trying to sell it, but it will take someone from A to Z in how to evaluate a mining stock and the proper things you need to look at. I've used it myself successfully. So it's the method I've used. There are also 17 other people that I interviewed and put in the book, all the way from the Rick Rules of the world to geologists you've never heard of, giving their advice and input onto what makes, the potential for a winning mining stock. And so it's packed full of everything. It starts with the scariest mine I've ever been in.
Which could you say for people who haven't read the book?
No, you got to read the book. And it's if you're claustrophobic, though, I'll give you fair warning. It was a scary trip down into a mine in China. So there's actually a free sample chapter on our website of that book, and that's the free chapter someone can read. So.
I should mention again, PAYDIRT, Mining for Profits with Gold and Silver Stock, talking with stocks, I should say. We're talking with Jeff Clark. What data are you looking at right now that's got you excited?
Here we are. Mining stocks have been depressed for years, especially the juniors. They couldn't, frankly, be at more depressed levels almost. We thought they were at depressed levels a year ago, and yet they sold off 50% more in 2024. What's particularly interesting is that volume has, not just price, but volumes have fallen completely off the charts. If you look at the venture index, the volume there, you can see normal volume, and then all of a sudden over the last 2 years, it's been completely depressed. It's barely visible on a chart. It's like 1/20th the volume currently, as you and I talk, as it was its 10-year average. And so we see volume has been dramatically, almost non-existent. And so that partly explains why mining stocks are so depressed, especially small caps, right? Because nobody's really interested. But the chart that has me the most excited is the one that I measured how long between each down cycle in mining stocks lasted. And we are now, as you and I talk here, on the cusp of breaking a new record for the longest down cycle since the 1970s for how long small caps have been in a down cycle. And so to me, that's encouraging,
right?
Because it can't go much longer. We don't know the timing of this, but we know that when we're that stretched, that a turnaround is around the corner. And I don't mean just a turnaround. You know, the mining stocks are so depressed that the rebound could be quite extensive, potentially even life-changing for someone who wants to try and go that route.
And you attend all the conferences everywhere, so you're the guy I wanted to ask this about. But are you when you're walking the halls of these conferences and talking to people, is that optimism there? Are you sensing that? Are you people?
I think it is now.
You mentioned turning a corner.
I do. Yeah. I think we're turning a corner now. Attendance is way up versus past years. We've been in a bear market since the peak of the COVID bounce back in 2020. Ever since then, it's been a steady droll downhill.
Right.
And so I'm starting to feel some of that now. And it's not based on price necessarily. It's not, you know, the gold price is up, but it's been flat for months. And so it's not based on that. It's not based on small caps having a nice little run. What's it based on? Well, I think investors in this sector are starting to feel like there's not only just an opportunity here, but that opportunity is probably pretty close.
One of the, and you certainly have a lot of videos that are online that people can see quite easily. One of the ones that caught my attention was addressing storing precious metals. Something that a lot of people do, and you know of what you speak when we talk about at what point do people get to when they realize I don't feel comfortable keeping this in my home or keeping something in my home, and you have experienced,
yes.
You're quite happy to talk about it, which is a good piece of advice for people. Talk about, because you were robbed.
We were.
So it'd be great to get your thoughts on our viewers that are listening to this that may be getting to that point of, I don't feel comfortable.
We had gold and silver, physical gold and silver stored in the house. It was in a safe. It was hidden. The key was in a different room. Mm-hmm. We took all the normal precautions to, safeguard that wealth, if you will. But it was stolen.
Yeah.
And they took all of it except one gold coin. And I think the reason the robber did that was he wanted to kind of mislead us and think, oh, the gold's still there or something. I don't know why.
Wow.
He took it all but one gold eagle. So it's a personal thing for me. I've written extensively about it, how to store, why you may not want to store in your home. Because again, it was in a lock safe, hidden from view, in a closet.
Right. Yeah.
The key was in a different room, and none of that worked. You have to be very careful. For me now, not only because I've been stolen, but because I'm in the public eye, I don't store any gold and silver at home. In fact, I have a dummy stash at home.
Okay.
I have a dummy bag of coins that is basically fake. It's not real. So if somebody does come, they think they've got the gold, hopefully.
Yeah.
But for that reason, I don't store it at home anymore.
And would your advice be for people that are still storing home? Do you inform the insurance company? Is that something that should be done?
Once you tell one other person, that person knows, and you need a confidant. You can't not tell anybody. You have to trust one other person, and that person needs to know where you go to store it and how to access it, whether it's a key or a combination or whatever the case may be. Once beyond one other person knows, who do they tell? Where does that chain go? And you have no control over that. And so once that's out there, by the way, do you post on social media? Are you pro gold on social media? Yeah. Do you talk about it? Do you talk about it with your friends wherever you go? From a convention to church, it doesn't matter where you go. Once somebody else knows, all it takes is a careless comment, and the ripple effect is in place. Right. And so you don't want to store at home. I don't store at home, and I don't actually recommend it. It's a kind of a unpleasant story, but my father knew someone who had a big safe at home, a combination. Nobody knew what the combination was. You could not break into this safe. It was a big, heavy, sturdy one. But he talked about it. People found out about it, and two unscrupulous people came to rob him, and they tortured his wife basically until he gave up the combination. So you may think a combination safe or a hidden safe or a big sturdy one is an answer. It doesn't matter if the ripple effect is out there and other people know. So that's why I personally don't do it, and I would encourage people, hey, if you're going to have some stored at home, that's okay, as long as it hasn't been talked about a lot.
Right.
But don't have all of your gold and silver in the house. That would be my best advice to people.
Okay, well, of course, we talk small cap here, Jeff. How life-changing can it be for people?
The potential is enormous, especially when you consider how stretched to the downside this rubber band really is, right?
Yeah.
1970s, we saw returns in the juniors of over 4,000%. With a select few that we were able to dig up. I actually sent my nephew to the library. He had to use microfiche because nothing was digitized from back then, and look it all up, and we found, at least 24 examples of juniors that on average rose over 4,000% during that enormous bull market. We saw it again, then gold crashed in the early 80s, remember that?
Yeah.
And yet we saw mining stocks then around the discovery area here in Canada that rose over 6,000% on average. So discovery works, and that we're seeing that here. We've had companies reported already this year that have made discoveries and seen their stocks really soar. But there are examples, and I have a ton of them in PAYDIRT. I had to give examples of PAYDIRT, right, in the book.
Right.
And there are literally hundreds of examples of stocks that have hit PAYDIRT and examples of other investors, including myself, that have hit PAYDIRT, and they're just scattered throughout the book. In fact, I devoted a whole chapter to it. It's really something when you see the potential. So mining stocks, you can be your own venture capitalist. It's one of the last bastions of capitalism where you can act as your own, venture capitalist, because we see this literally every decade. We see, amazing returns, enormous returns in the small caps, and I think that'll happen again, especially when you consider how far down the ladder, how stretched they are, and how depressed and undervalued they are now. The snapback, even the reversion to the mean, we're going to see many, many easy doubles and triples, and there are going to be many 10-baggers out of this.
He, as we mentioned, is a mining analyst. He's an author, public speaker. More information,
thegoldadvisor.com.
Yes, and also on all social media, The Gold Advisor, talking with Jeff Clark and all his advice. Jeff, thanks for joining us.
Great. It was great to be here. Thanks very much.
You bet.